YouTube, Bostic going the Goat House is back with another NFL Cap Solutions video. We're making cuts for each team. We're talking about what players they can and can't cut, maybe restructuring some contracts, and then how we could fix their cap space situation, what it could look like going into free agency this offseason here. So we got you covered with all these. We only got two more of these left for the AFC and NFC West, which will be tomorrow, which is Saturday, the 30th of January. All kinds of free agency coverage on the channel, a lot more to come. Same goes for the NFL draft, for the Super Bowl coverage as well. So check that out. Please join us for all that. Subscribe, smash the like button. Check us out on Twitter. It's an absolute must follow if you're an NFL fan. And below me, you see there that Sided app. You can talk football and win Amazon gift cards. Link in the description and comments for anything that you need. And then there's a Twitter. I kind of already was talking about the Drew Brees. We're about to talk about the NFC South here in this video, but the Drew Brees cap situation if he retires, so you kind of see all these things way earlier on Twitter, so that's a good reason to follow it. We were talking about that on January 18th even, but let's start with, since we're talking about the Saints, let's talk about the Saints. Let's stay right on that. For some reason, this cap keeps going lower, the projection, using this Spotrac, SpotRack, whatever it's called, website. I trust them very much. Very accurate, very cool. But we don't know the exact cap number yet because we don't know the team's cap space number for this year. It's supposed to go down. It is going to go down from what it normally is. Why so many teams are so far in the negative? It's one of the reasons. But this is worst case scenario for the Saints, but it's going to be bad either way. Let's start with them here. Drew Brees is the big one here. That's the big one because he's supposed to retire. We can pull up his contract here and see what, even the Saints in the past, they do this with a lot of contracts, and with teams that are pretty far in the negative, they'll make some cuts to clear space, but they'll also do what they did here. They created some void years on Brees' contract, kind of to push money back, so they're not taking too much of a cap hit. So this contract did run through 2021, even though they were paying him, you see these signing bonuses, through 2023, but you see he's still a free agent even though he's probably retiring anyways. But basically they push the money back so they don't have to pay it all then, and they can clear space. So they can continue to do that and I think since teams are in the negative this year, I think a lot of teams will do that. This gets pretty confusing, but you see it's a little easier for me to read over here for some reason. That's why I'm looking over here. As you can see, we're just going to say he retires. We're going to say he retires here, and the cap hit was supposed to be $36 million. The dead cap is at $22.65. Kind of going back, though, if you were to cut Brees, if you were to cut him, you would actually save $13.5 million, which is a lot. But and you might say, why wouldn't they just cut him before he retires? That's a business decision if I ever seen one. But I think this was part of the deal. I think it was really, they kind of knew he was going to retire. I think it was a 1-year deal for the 2020 season, but it was for this total amount of money. But they kind of just split it up, which is a lot of money for Drew Brees in a 1-year deal. It felt like they were kind of paying him for what he's done for them for a long time. So they kind of dug themselves a hole with this one. But since he's retiring and since they're not going to cut him, we think he's retiring. They're still going to have to pay that dead cap money, but they actually could split that up. It gets really confusing, but if he retires, they actually can take that money that they still have to pay and divide it between this year and next year going forward, if they choose to do so. And since they're in the negative, and I kind of talked about that here, and it resulted in the $11.15 million cap hit this year instead of that full money. So they won't be hit with that 36. We can change that to 11, and that's kind of just my projections by doing the math here. And it's not a guarantee. So we see we changed the cap hit from 36 to 11. So the good news about him retiring is you won't have to pay that 36 cap hit. The bad news is there's still some dead cap in there, but you could say, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just cut him? But again, I think the whole deal, I think they knew. I think it was a 1-year deal for all that money, which was a bit much if you ask me. But they decided to spread it out. So it was a 1-year deal that made to look like more than a 1-year deal. That's what it tells me, because if not, they should just make the business decision and cut him. But I don't think that's the case. So, and the Saints kept pushing money back, and they're giving out a lot of these contracts, and that's why they created this year of cap space hell, is the way they want to put it. So it kind of finally caught up to them in giving out these contracts, and it would have been okay. It would have been fine if they hit their goal, which is everyone's goal, but win the Super Bowl, and they fell short once again of doing that. So it hurts a little more knowing that, obviously. But kind of going down, so at least we cleared that so far. But kind of going down the list on who they can, we're going to get rid of this Drew Brees guy. Okay. Who they can cut. That's a tough part too. Janoris Jenkins has been playing pretty well for them. He was one of the better corners in football at one point on the Giants, and then he really declined. And the Saints got him, and you'd think, okay, you're probably not going to get a whole bunch from this guy. But he ended up playing a little better than expected. He's 33, though, and they desperately need cap space. Do they cut him and save $7 million? I don't know, because then they got a hole at corner, and then they still can't really fill that hole because they're still going to be so far in the negative. So I don't know if they do that. Quan Alexander, I believe they traded him for a rental, and that made sense to me because there's zero dead cap there. You can save that full $13.2 million. He's a good linebacker. His injury concern, but I'm expecting them to make that move and cut him. Emmanuel Sanders, 34. I don't think he's going to make or break this team. I think you cut him, you save that $6.5 million, which is a lot of money to them. Malcolm Jenkins, another one. He played pretty well for them, but 34 years old. They need the space. Do they make the cut? Negative 4.5. They don't. So no. Nick Eason, I think they can move on from him. They did a good job, bringing in Cesar Ruiz, kind of planning ahead for this. $5.87 million there. So I think they go ahead and do that. Malcolm Brown, they keep there. They're probably going to lose Rankins free agency unless they get him back cheap somehow. It's going to be tough to bring in new signings, and they're going to do what they've been doing, and a lot of teams been doing that recently around the NFL, is they're going to push money back. Guys don't, it's impossible to predict who will take pay cuts, and most guys don't take pay cuts. There might not be a single guy to take pay cut, but some guys will agree to that restructure where you push the money back. So they will still get that money, guaranteed. They will still get that money, but you just get it later. They push it back. And sometimes you hear about teams kind of just give it to them then, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but there's really no way of telling. But yeah, you basically could push that money back. So it'll happen. It'll happen here to some of these guys. So again, this number is probably worst case scenario. I'd say so. Maybe it's time for Davenport to step up. I'm not sure why Rankin's on here because he's supposed to be a free agent. Yeah, $0. So yeah, yeah, that means he's a free agent. Patrick Robinson's 34. Let's move on from him. $2.6 million. Do they move on from Josh Hill? Jared Cook's a free agent. They did draft Adam Trautman. Could they afford to do that? $2.5 million. Yeah, we saw Jared Cook's a free agent. So they got some guys on here that are free agents. Traquan Smith was starting to look pretty good. They got a guy like Zach Bond that can step up. We talked about Trautman. Garner Johnson's solid in the slots. Trevor Siemian they can move on from, save. Yeah, so, you can find guys like that they can kind of move on from and save a little bit of money. It's not going to do a whole bunch of damage, but as you can see, they're still in a pretty bad situation. Again, they'll create those dummy years for teams, and meaning they'll push the money back and they'll save more. There's probably guys, we want to pull up what did they do? They were pretty smart with the Alvin Kamara contract, so they're pretty smart with their contracts, but it kind of caught up to them. It was going to be at some point. So kind of a mess year here. They didn't technically create dummy years for Alvin Kamara, but this 2025 year kind of feels like one. They had the cap hit 14, 25. Are you kidding me? But there's no dead cap here, so they're basically going to cut him before that. That has nothing to do with this year though. But they're pretty good at doing those. Even though it doesn't look too good in a year like this because it kind of caught up to them. But they can continue. My point is they can continue to push some money back. But can they push back? And my point of bringing up Alvin Kamara, so they had that $25 million at that last year. So they can possibly push a good chunk of money like that later in the years. So they can really bring this number down, but it's tough work. There's not going to be much action at all for the Saints this offseason, and it's unfortunate they couldn't get the job done this year because they kind of created this situation to build the best Super Bowl team they can build. So yeah, an interesting situation to monitor there. The Drew Brees thing. Let's see if I'm curious to see if I'm right about that. I changed it to it's a ballpark number, and maybe they just want to cut their losses this year and be like, we can't do anything this year anyways with this cap space situation. So let's take on that full whatever the dead cap was for Drew Brees. Too much math in my head. And not split it in half. So what is that? 22. It's over 22 million or whatever. And not hurt ourselves next year. And they were still paying some, I think, $3 million because of the void years for Drew Brees. That's really nothing though. So we'll see what they do. I do think it's kind of interesting because if the cap space is at 175 for every team, that's going to make the Saints be as far in the negative as they can be, and that's a terrible situation. But I almost view it as that almost being a win in the way for the Saints, because that forces other teams to not be able to do that much. If the cap space is as low as it's going to be, that pushes more teams down into the negative, and they're not able to be flexible and to do things. And the Saints were already kind of in that position, so the more teams that are kind of stuck in their situation, maybe the better. So it's kind of a weird way of looking at it, but something I thought of. Moving on to the Falcons, pretty rough situation as well. Negative $33 million. A lot of talk on Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, even though I don't think it's serious, but a lot of talk around just fans, I think. They should trade or cut these guys. I don't think anybody's saying cut, but we'll just see. What if they cut Matt Ryan, negative $9 million? Let's see what happens if they trade these guys. They trade them, it's still negative $3. You trade Julio Jones, negative $200,000. That's not that much. So if you can get a pretty good, we're gonna have to reset this. We're gonna get a pretty good pick, I suppose so, but that's just very unlikely, and they like those guys as well. But we'll go down the list here. Dante Fowler, who they just signed this offseason, was pretty underwhelming, but I think he kind of fits Dean Pease's scheme, so I think he'll be good, and they're probably excited about him. For this year. Ricardo Allen, they definitely can move on from. They're going to have a hole at safety, though, because Keanu Neal's a free agent as well, but $6.2 million, they kind of move on there. James Carpenter, they can do the same thing, $4 million, because they kind of got some younger offensive linemen. Alan Bailey, I think they move on from. Definitely worth moving on from with the $4.5 million. Dave said they probably keep. Then you start to get to the cheaper guys here. Yeah, so it's some of these guys really aren't worthy. I think Hennessy's going to start for them because Alex Mack's a free agent. Ito Smith, they probably like to keep as a backup. They're going to need a starter though. These guys are just so cheap that they're not. And they'll cut some of these guys down here to clear like a little bit of space. Just kind of click somebody random there. They're going to cut some of those guys to clear some space. Tough to tell. But they're still in the negatives. That's the tough thing. That's the tough part, So they're gonna have to do well, and they're gonna have to do well in the draft. Bringing in Arthur Smith is just so important for them to get a running game. To get a running game, you need, and their offensive line will be all right. I think they need a running back. They need a better running back. So it's tough. And there's quite a few good ones in free agency that I think fits, and there's a couple in the draft that I think fit. But are they in position to get those guys? They may have to do a little bit of moving around, but I recommend they draft a quarterback, and that really won't help them for this year, so that's tough. It could if they play that guy, whether it's Justin Fields or whoever it is. But when are they picking 4? Matt Ryan, 36. You got to take this opportunity while you have it. So pretty bad situation for the Falcons, but you can clear some space. This is worst case scenario if these exact cuts happen. That's $16.8 million, because the cap number will probably be a little higher than they're projecting here. We'll see. Carolina Panthers, $6.6 million. They're in talks about trading for Deshaun Watson, whether the Texans want to trade him or not. The Panthers are very much interested, very interested. Teddy Bridgewater, pretty disappointing this year. Let's pull up his contract as well. That would be pretty informing to see this. But what happens if you cut him? You actually save $3 million. Guys that just got contracts, big contracts, especially quarterbacks, usually when you cut them that early or maybe at all at any point, it's usually negative. So it's not bad. It's not you got $20 million in dead cap, but overall you're saving about $3 million. It's not bad. I don't think they just downright cut him. We'll take a look at his contract and why this contract. People I think are overreacting. He got that big contract and people were worried How much money he got. You see the base salary. You can see the cash he's getting every year. And he didn't play too well. He looked actually pretty damn good first half of the season. Second half of the season was pretty bad. But you look at the contract, and yeah, that's where that you can save about $3 million because the cap hits 22 and then dead cap's 20. So, the difference is that $3 million. But you look at 2022, $26 million cap hit, $5 million dead cap. So you're going to save a whopping $21 million in cap space if you cut him before, not this upcoming year, but the next year. So essentially a 2-year deal, so what we can circle back to him in terms of the trade situation. Quan Short's played like a total of 5 games the last 2 years. Yes, he's pretty good. Yes, it would be something to see him with a guy like Derek Brown, but I think it's time. You need a little more cap space, especially if you're going to trade for a guy like Deshaun Watson. 16.4 million you're up to now. You save $9.8 million by cutting him. So I think you can do something like that. They just signed Stephen Weatherly, last offseason, but if you're, needing to save a little more, 5.9, it's a possibility. Like Trey Boston, Justin Burris plays quite a bit because Jeremy Chin can play safety, come up in the box, play linebacker. Greg Little hasn't worked out, but only 24. I don't see them moving on. They can move on from a guy like Kerr, perhaps, 1.3 million about. There's not too many ways. There's not too many ways to create to clear the space. I mean, there's some guys down here that they can cut and save a little bit of money. They'll probably do that. But yeah, they can clear some good money though. That's $24.6 million, and that's kind of worst case scenario. That's if the 175 number is the cap space for each team. So they're in the positive, which if you're in the positive, it's almost a good thing compared to most teams this year. But then you can actually clear a good amount of space there. Let's see what happens if they trade Teddy Bridgewater. Doesn't matter whenever we send him. So trading him actually saves a pretty big number there, $13 million. So if they can do that and they find that quarterback, whether it's in the draft or if they trade for Deshaun Watson, they could do that. You can trade Teddy Bridgewater for pretty much nothing there. They could clear some space there. Now we move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which for a team that's in the Super Bowl, a pretty damn good team, $28.6 million is a fantastic number. The problem is they have some big-time, major free agents, and I think they'll get those guys back, at least most of them, but then they're going to be out of cap space once they do. So let's see if they can clear a little bit more some way. Donovan Smith, I guess, is known as the weaker part of the offensive line, but he's playing better as it's a unit. It's a better unit. So I definitely think he sticks around. It's hard to find left tackle, but, people kind of get on him a little bit. We'll see what happens. I mean, they would save a whopping $14.25 million, but I just don't see how that's something that they can do. Gronk's a free agent, so that'll be tough to get rid of Brate, but, getting up there in age, not super effective. $6.5 million. O.J. Howard could be coming back here, maybe. Maybe they can get Gronk back. It depends on the price, probably. Then moving down the list, they don't have too many. A lot of young guys that they've kind of hit on through the draft here. Anthony Nelson, wasn't a big fan of that pick. Don't think he's a fit, but he's only 24. Maybe they look to trade a guy like that. But yeah, so not a whole bunch of guys under contract too. That's the other thing. So they. What'll be ideal for them, because they're a Super Bowl caliber team, so it's not the end of the world if they're really not getting new guys, getting better. They bring back the same guys, and it feels like kind of a fairly new team. They're fresh, new face. They don't have the greatest chemistry, and they're already good, so they can kind of get better by default. So you re-sign those guys. You're going to have little. We got up to $35 million, and that's kind of worst case scenario. So maybe you have a little bit money left. And I think they could be a team that trades down in the draft to gain more picks. You want more draft picks, cheap draft picks. So usually trading down, you gain more picks, but they're a little later, so that means cheaper. And that's how since they don't have a whole bunch of guys on their contract, and they probably won't really, they won't have enough guys to fill out their roster. That's why you get those draft picks and you try to hit. And they've been hitting on some. Look at these secondary guys. They're so young, and they've just been hitting on those guys. And they'll try to do that again. So I think that's what we can expect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, what they can do. So, Yeah, I mean, for a really good team, it's a pretty good situation because usually, and the Saints built their team to win the Super Bowl, and you see with the situation that they're in, there's a lot of teams like that. The Falcons built their team to win the Super Bowl. They're in the negative, so Tampa Bay's sitting pretty, I'd say. They do got, it's a little scary, I guess, if you're a fan maybe, because there's some big-time major free agents that you do not want to let go. So let's make sure we get those guys, they're saying, so you can relax a little bit, but so I guess that's the negative side of it, but I'm confident, though, because Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Chris Godwin, those guys are the main ones. They got to get back. Ndamukong Suh is also a free agent. They would like him back, but I think that's kind of the probably priority number 4 there out of those guys, but we'll see. But, yeah, look for them to try to get those guys back and maybe trade back in the draft a little bit unless there's a guy they just can't pass on, but they want to get more picks to hit on more draft picks and to fill out their roster. So that makes sense for teams like that. But, yeah, that'll do it for the NFC South. Definitely one of the more entertaining ones, I thought, just because there's so much going on, especially with the Saints. There. So, yeah, we're always talking about these things on Twitter. If a guy ends up being cut, we see where the cap space is at. We'll have the exact numbers by that time when everything like that gets rolling. So, full free agency coverage here, offseason in general with the draft, and we got Super Bowl coverage. So, check all that out. Smash that like button, subscribe. Be much appreciated. Make sure you follow that Twitter. Very important. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.